it gave me permission. I guess we're looking for permission, a lot of us are, to do what we love to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened with me was it gave me permission to make time in my life to do the artwork that I love to do.
Well, hello there. I am Cindy Coaches, and I am the host of Pen to Paper Press podcast. Best-selling authors, writers, editors, and publishers join me in my virtual studio for conversations about the process of developing our stories to completing our works of art. Each episode is an opportunity for us to explore insights, pearls of wisdom, and the experiences we've had on our journey from putting that pen to paper and accomplishing our goals. Enjoy today's episode. Today, I am sitting with Nancy Fairbrother. She's a retired soul-centered psychotherapist with a background in metaphysics and spiritual development. She wrote, "Who are you? What are you doing here? Where are you going?" to help people create a life they were born to live. Nancy, it is an honor to have you in my virtual studio. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Cindy.
You're welcome. And I have to say, I love the title of your book. What inspired you to write it?
It's my whole journey through life prompted me to write it. My own experience, actually, because a long time ago I didn't know where I was going, what I was going to do, and I was already counseling people. And I was a soul-centered counselor, but I hadn't had my psychology training yet. And I wanted specific information. And so I had been exploring different occult sciences like numerology and palmistry and astrology. And I found this type of numerology called Chaldean Numerology, which I think, based on how long it's been on this planet for thousands of years, is the original. And so I tested it on myself, and I went, oh my gosh, there's my life purpose right there. And so I said, well, I have to test it on other people. So I picked 20 people at random. Some people I knew, some people I didn't know so well. And I did their numbers. We got together in a session. I did their numbers by the Chaldean method and by the more popular Pythagorean method. They all said the Chaldean method fits me. It fits me to a T. And I'm so happy to have this information, because now I feel more sure of myself and what I'm doing with my life. And that was the way that I responded to it. And so I wanted to write a book and make it available to as many people as were attracted to it, because it's a different kind of book, because it has numerology in it. It also has psychology. I put them both together. And so psychology is really great in certain areas, and spirituality or occult science or whatever you want to call it is great in other areas. And so putting them together in my counseling practice really showed me how, we could cut through a lot of unnecessary processes by using not only talk therapy, which is wonderful, but also past life recall, not regression, but recall. Sometimes something would come up and I would have an impression to ask my client, are you open to past lives? Because I'm getting an impression that this might be one. And so we would go ahead and explore that if that's what they wanted to do. And so I had several ways to approach a person's healing, and that they could really relate to. And so I put the two together. So I was thinking about my practice, and that's what happened in my practice. People were able, I don't use drugs. I never use drugs in my practice. We got there without drugs. But the thing of it is that they would reach a level of like peace and understanding at the same time. It was kind of like an aha moment. And it really brought understanding almost, like instantly into an issue. The other thing that I did in my practice was to teach people how to counsel themselves in certain ways. And so, between sessions, if they needed it. So it's a revolutionary, to me, I've never heard about this before. I mean, I've never heard somebody, there's a lot of practitioners out there that practice more spiritual processes, which are wonderful. Mm-hmm. And then there's psychology, which is also wonderful. But I've never seen anybody combine the two. And so that's what I did. And so my clients, excuse me, were able to heal faster, not that we were in a hurry, but heal faster and also take some of those processes that we did in session and use them on their own whenever, they needed some understanding, kind of a thing. So that's why I wrote my book, because I'm thinking, I can't reach everybody, and this isn't for everybody. But if I wrote a book and enough people knew about it, people could actually help themselves. Now, it's about numerology. I mean, part of this book is how to do your numbers the Chaldean way. And so, believe it or not, that's a spiritual process. Mm-hmm. Occult science has a bad reputation, as you know. And so part of my reason for writing this book was to introduce people to the practicality of occult science. And when I did my numbers the Chaldean way, it was like I came home.
Interesting.
There was so many questions answered in that process. And so I thought, I'm going to write a book and people can use it. The other thing that's in the book that isn't very well known is a process of eliminating fear. And you'll see that at the end of the book. It's in the end of the book. And you can eliminate fear, like say that you're afraid to fly, you take airplane anywhere. You can use this process. It takes about less than a minute, and you don't have that fear anymore. And I learned this in my training as a transformational breath facilitator. But I modified it slightly so that it's not about breathing, but it's part of another process that I learned. And so I wanted to share, excuse me, I wanted to share that with people because you can use it yourself. So I guess you could say the book is a self-help book. I mean, on a, like you're going through your day and something happens that you ordinarily you would panic about. You can do this little process and you're not going to get panicky about that anymore.
Sounds more like a reference book to use throughout the day versus a self-help book, because it's something you can refer back to time and time again, where a self-help book is something you read, you may set it down for a while, and in this case it's something that you're going to continue to pick up and refer back to.
Right. And the thing about the other thing about the Chaldean numerology revealing one's life purpose is, I thought of mothers and fathers. They could do their children's numbers, and they would know how to guide the child from the time they were little. Just, and also it's how to understand their child, because all kids are not alike. You know that. Everybody knows that. And so sometimes kids need special help.
Yes.
And if you know this process reveals your gifts, your talents, and your challenges. And the thing, of course, being a psychotherapist, I'm really zoned in on the challenges, right?
Yes.
We were in it. That's another thing about my practice. We were able to zero in on their challenges, and they understood there's nothing wrong with me. It's part of my life purpose to have these lessons. These are lessons. There's nothing wrong with me. And as I thought, when I saw my challenge, I said, I can't believe I chose this, because that's my orientation. We chose our life purpose. We chose a purpose where we would live in an enriching and fulfilling life, right?
Right.
We have challenges there. And so I'm looking at my challenge, I'm thinking, I guess I did choose these because they fit my issues to a T. Then it dawned on me, if I chose them, I can resolve them.
Oh, interesting.
So that empowered me.
Yes, that's interesting. That's a nice way to approach it. That if I chose this, I can fix it, or not so much fix it, but find the solution and make the adjustments and do that turnabout. So
right, you're not a victim. You're not a victim. It's there for your education. And how about your strengths and your challenges? A lot of people, they go through life doing what they think they should do, especially maybe not so much the younger generations, but the older generations. You were brought up, when you grow up, you get a job, you make money, you have to support yourself and all this kind of stuff, which we do. We have to do that.
Yes.
But many of us are working at careers or jobs that we don't want and we don't like. And so what this process taught me was I can find ways to support myself, support my son, and that will please me, because now I know what I really love to do, and I can figure a way how to put it into my work life, kind of thing. So it helps people to have more fulfilling work.
Yes.
Yeah. And it also helps people understand themselves, because everybody isn't alike. We know that, but we don't know exactly why or how. But if you look at your numbers and you do somebody else's numbers, like maybe your husband or your wife or your friend or whatever, or your kids, you go, oh my gosh, No wonder, so it's basically for understanding ourselves and for understanding other people. And then that helps us resolve. We have differences with people. It helps us understand this other person and how they see life, which is different from the way we see it. And it's all okay.
So for authors that are writing that book and they're focused on this expansive topic, such as, finding your life's purpose, what kind of encouragement would you offer to them to keep writing and to get published? Because again, life purpose is an expansive topic. And so I would like to be able to encourage those writers to keep going and not to get that comparison-itis.
Well, if they do their numbers, they're going to see their artistic qualities, and they're going to see how their thoughts and feelings balance out, and their perception of life. It just helps you have a laser kind of focus on who you are, because I don't know if I think I'm not that different from most other people. But before I did this, I knew what I loved to do, and it wasn't very practical. I started out as an artist, a painter, because that's what I loved, and that's what I still love it, and so I'm back into it. But I was denying that in myself, all right? And so I was able to, it gave me permission. I guess we're looking for permission, a lot of us are, to do what we love to do. Mm-hmm. And so what happened with me was it gave me permission to make time in my life to do the artwork that I love to do after I graduated from art school. And I had a couple of commercial art, jobs in commercial art, which I enjoyed, but they didn't last. So I was able to work that around so that I had that in my life. But then I got into spiritual growth, which also showed up in my numbers, which I had no idea how to address that until I got into training. I always wanted to be psychic, even when I was a teenager. I used to have these what do you call them, sessions where we would try to lift tables. We'd have a sleepover, and we'd try the stuff. Well, it never worked. But I read books. I didn't like the sensationalism.
Yes, I agree.
So popular, and this was way back in the day where there was practically no literature on it. And I finally found some books, people, mostly psychics, who would counsel people. And I thought that was fascinating. Then I found a group called the Americana Leadership College, and they had a whole training on how to develop your psychic awareness and how to use it in practical ways. And that's what I was after.
Interesting.
And so I was with them for 10 years, and I learned how to develop my psychic awareness because, it's a very practical thing. And I toured the country giving lectures and workshops and things like that. So, and I also did want that psychology training. And I had to wait almost 30 years for my training in psychology because I wanted soul-centered psychology, but I didn't know what I wanted at the time. When I was in college in art school, I took a course in psychology and it was fine, except it wasn't what I wanted.
Okay.
I didn't know what I wanted. But I finally eventually found the University of Santa Monica, which had a soul-centered approach. And I went, that's what I want. And I got my master's. And so then I was a happy camper because I was using both disciplines in my counseling practice. People want to know who they are spiritually, and they want to know that there's nothing wrong with them. They're just, they just have these challenges that they chose, and they can resolve them.
Yes. So what was your writing process like for writing this book?
I don't have an organized writing process. I try, and this is what I did. As I got ideas, I would write down notes, and then I can't do chapter 1, and then chapter 2, then chapter 3, then chapter 4. Whatever comes to me, I write it down. And then I just do it that way. And so different aspects, I put the similar things together. And then maybe a different thing will come to me, like, how am I going to approach this? You have to have, I wanted to have introduction into it that people could understand why they were reading this, So whatever related to my thought, I would write it down. And then I would have these notes, and I'd be sitting on my living room floor cutting the notes apart and putting the similar notes together. Have you ever done that?
Oh yeah.
You do it. That's how I can do it. And then the chapters sort of emerged, and the flow emerged, kind of. So that's how I did it.
Sounds very familiar. I'm not one who can lay out a outline and then follow it. If I make an outline, it definitely does not end the way I had set out for it to end. And the one book that I'm currently writing, I'm very much doing the same thing you did with this, is as the notes come to mind, I write them down. I am organizing them into, on paper, it's a chapter, but it's not going to be a chapter when it's completed. It will be, clusters of thoughts. And I'm now at the point where I need to go through and back trace everything, start from the beginning, and okay, what do I have here, and how can this be put into book form? So it's interesting because several of the writers that I know and several of the writers that I have interviewed for this show, they are by outline, and a couple of people are not. So I love asking and finding out how people's process is, because it's so unique to the individual. You cannot get this wrong. And that's one of the messages that I'm truly trying to share in this podcast, is the fact that how you write is how you write. You cannot get it wrong, other than not doing it. But as a writer, you can't stop a writer from writing. We will write one way or another, whether it's on a napkin, in our head. However, we writers will write.
That's right. And some of us are organized one way and some of us are organized another way, and we do whatever we do and it comes out okay.
Yeah, yeah, the journey, we are not meant to walk the same journey, maybe similar journeys, but each person has their unique perspective and outlook on it. And yeah, the end result is a finished book and and getting it out there. So the question I have written out here really does follow this line of conversation. So, and again, when I'm writing out these questions for, prior to the show, it's really interesting because sometimes I don't understand why I have a question worded the way it is. Being an intuitive, I just follow it. So this is what I wrote. And again, this is not what I would normally ask somebody. So as any author will agree, we all have our ups and downs on the journey to publishing our works of art. Will you share with us your most rewarding moment in regards to your journey as a published author? What is one thing that stood out for you? So it's really interesting that I wrote in this question twice. What is your journey? The journey of writing. So I'll stop talking and let you answer. What is the one thing that stood out? What was the rewarding element for publishing this book for you?
Wow, I have to think about that. I can't think of an aha or wow moment. I remember when before I published it, I put it out to about half a dozen people to read and to get their feedback. And so that was interesting to me. I was really thrilled though. I really was thrilled when I saw my titles on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and Smashwords. It really thrilled me. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
It was exciting, Yeah.
So when you had your individuals pre-read the book before it was launched, what was some of their reactions?
Well, I was looking for clarity, like, did they understand what they were reading? And also they had some suggestions too about ideas, and they had questions. So that really helped me to address certain things that hadn't occurred to me. So that was helpful. And then some people, they had a lot to share, and other people said, "Oh yeah, that's fine."
That's not, Jen, it's not the answer we're looking for. We truly do want this is what I like, this is what I didn't like, and what did you mean by this? And I comprehended this. We're looking for that.
Yeah, some of those comments really helped me to improve the organization of it, this follows that kind of a thing. And also to add things that hadn't occurred to me. So yeah, that was very helpful.
Well, good. So where can people find you on the internet, Nancy?
They can find me on Facebook and they can find my book on Amazon, on Barnes and Noble, and on Smashwords.
And I will have that information in the show notes. I am honored to have you here. And again, thank you. Thank you for joining me in the virtual studio.
I think it's wonderful. I really thank you for the opportunity. It's been fun, and it's been informative and very good.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you. Okay, I have to share what happened after we got done with the official podcast recording. I left the audio recording going as we continued our conversation. Nancy and I started talking about writing communities, and how they're beneficial and supportive to us, the writers. Here's the part I wanted to share with you.
But they accepted me. Let's put it that way. They accepted me. They were doing fiction and they were doing other things, and they were very helpful to me. They're very good writers. So it was an interesting experience, and I really enjoyed the support.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good to have support.
It is. And that's the one thing I'm trying to build. I'm going to get rid of that word trying. I am building a community of writers where we do feel that support and we can network and gain that insight. Because how do we learn? We learn through storytelling. We learn through community. It takes a village to raise a child. Well, guess what? It takes a networking group to help an author. So,
right, yeah.
Because if we stand alone, we stand alone. If we stand united, man, we can conquer the world with our pen in our hands.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, it's been fun, and I'll see you down the road. Perfect. See you down the electronic road.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it is, too.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Take care, Nancy.
Okay. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Before we end our time together, I'd like to say thank you for joining us. If this podcast resonated with you, be sure to subscribe, share it, and leave us a comment at pentopaperpress.com. Take care, and until next time, know that your words have power and your story matters. Bye for now.